6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Danushka Madhavala and read by Lavani Vijayatunga. First, we take a look at the headlines. Sri Lanka's gross official reserves stood at 4.5 billion in January. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said that the railway lands to be leased to the private sector. The first public rally since President assuming office as the President will be held in Kurunegala tomorrow. Lanka Sathosa reduces prices of 4 essential food commodities. In news overseas, 5 killed in Gaza, 8 drop parachute failure. And in sports news, the third and the final T20 international match between visiting Sri Lanka and Bangladesh will be played today. Those are the headlines, and now let's move on to the details of the local news. Sri Lanka's gross official reserves stood at $4.5 billion as of January this year, according to the central bank. About $1.4 billion of the reserves is a Chinese yuan-dominated swap. Meanwhile, President Ranil Wickremesinghe recently said in Parliament that the amount of foreign exchange reserves that can be used at the moment has increased up to $3 billion. The amount of usable foreign exchange reserve, which was less than $20 billion in mid-April 2022, has increased to more than $3 billion at present, the President said in Parliament. The main reason for the increase in gross official reserves in the central bank is a significant purchase of foreign exchange from the domestic and foreign exchange markets on a net basis. In total, the central bank has purchased about $245 million on a net basis in January this year. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said the Railways Department lands will be leased out to the private sector for tourism promotion and related activities, but said some railway trade unions had opposed the move. He said that applications from prospective investors to lease around 14,000 acres of land belonging to the Railways Department have been called. But he added that despite objections, they will go ahead with the project as the government has already given the green light, and insisted that one reason was to transform the department into a profit-generating entity. He said land situated close to the railway stations in Kompanavidya, Kolipitiya, Pambalapitiya and Vallavata, along with the land situated at the scenic locations in the upcountry areas, will be leased out. The minister made these comments after opening the additional commerce hub of the Navalapitiya railway station yesterday. President Ranil Wickremesinghe will hold his first public rally since assuming office as the President. Deputy Leader of the UNP, Akhilaviraj Karyavasam, said that the event at Kuliyapitiya under the theme Truth will take place at the municipal grounds from 2 p.m. tomorrow. Speakers at the occasion will be President Wickremesinghe, Akhilaviraj Karyavasam, Ruwan Wijewardena, Vajra Abeyewardena, Ravi Karunanayaka, Palita Range Bandara, Sagala Ratnayaka, Harin Fernando, Manusha Nanayakara and Navin Disanayaka. This is the news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
At People's Bank, we empower your pride. People's Bank, pride of the nation.
And we continue with more local news. The state-owned supermarket chain Lanka Sathosa has reduced the prices of 4 essential food commodities in order to provide relief to the consumers. Lanka Sathosa announced that the price reduction will be effective from yesterday. Accordingly, the price of Lanka Sathosa milk powder 400 grams, which was previously sold at 1,060 rupees, has been reduced by 125 rupees and will be sold at 935 rupees. A kilo of dried chilies, which was previously sold at 1,190 rupees, has been reduced by 15 rupees to 1,175 rupees. White kaklu rice, which was sold at 200 rupees per kilo, has been reduced by 5 rupees and will be sold at 195 rupees. White sugar, 1 kilo, which was previously sold at 275 rupees, has been reduced by 3 rupees and will be sold at 272 rupees. Lanka Sathosa is the only state-owned supermarket chain having its outlets located across the country, which offers all essential consumer items at discounted prices. Final rights of the veteran actress journalist and former radio news presenter Ramya Vanigasekara will be held tomorrow. She was 73 years old at the time of her demise. She made her debut stage drama appearance in 1976 with a minor role in the stage drama Hasiraja Mahatya. She had her breakthrough role in 1978 stage drama Manoranjana Vadavarshana. She also acted in many other stage dramas including Kalani Palama, Ahasin Vetanu Minissu, Jela Unnahe, Rajakatava, Muhudu Puttu and Sirisangabo. In 1980, Ms. Vanigasekara began her career as a radio host with Radio Ceylon and was a regular news anchor until her retirement in the year 2006. She later joined the corporation on a contract basis where she worked as a release newscaster. Her body will be brought to SLBC at 1 p.m. tomorrow and the final rites will be held tomorrow at the Borella Cemetery. And to conclude the local news, the headlines once again. Sri Lanka's gross official reserves stood at 4.5 billion in January. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardana said that the railway lands to be leased to the private sector. The first public rally since President assuming office as President will be held in Kuragala tomorrow. Lanka Sathosa reduces prices of 4 essential food commodities. And that was the main news story.
Right decisions with noble intentions bring pride to you and the nation. At People's Bank, we empower your pride. People's Bank, pride of the nation.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
The price of red onions at the Dambulla Dedicated Economic Centre has reduced. The price of imported red onions has fallen, while the local red onions are not available in the Economic Centre, which is a major vegetable distribution centre in the island. During the last few seasons, onions were cultivated, especially in the Matale district. But for various reasons, only imported onions are now available. As a result, big onions are also imported, and the private sector has a monopoly in this import. Accordingly, the wholesale price of red onions has reduced and the price of big onions has risen over the red onions. At present, the wholesale price of red onions at the Dambulla Economic Centre ranges from 240 rupees to 260 rupees per kilo, while a kilogram of big onions is over 350 rupees. Businessmen said that the prices of onions may go down further in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
And in Washington this morning, gold prices hit record highs for the 4th consecutive season on Friday on growing speculations over June interest rates cuts ahead of U.S. job data due later in the day. Spot gold rose to 0.4% to $2,168.28 per ounce, and the U.S. gold futures added 0.5% to $2,175.5. Gold reached a new all-time high of $2,170.99 earlier in the session and has gained more than 4.1% so far this week, setting it on track to post its biggest weekly percentage increase since mid-October. And that came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
Headlines of the world news: 5 killed in Gaza, airdrop parachute failure. Ex-president of Honduras found guilty of drug crimes. US says UFO sightings likely secret military tests. Those are the headlines, and now let's move on to the details of the world news. 5 people have died after a parachute failed on an aid package dropped by air into Gaza on Friday, reports say. Eyewitnesses and the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza said the 5 were killed when at least one parachute failed to deploy and a passer fell on them, BBC's US partner CBS reports. AFP news agency quoted Gaza doctors as saying 5 people were killed. It is unclear which airdrop was involved in the incident. The US, Jordan, Egypt, France, the Netherlands and Belgium have been dropping aid into Gaza in recent days as concerns about famine among the population grow. Jordanian state TV quoted a source as denying that a Jordanian aircraft was involved in the incident. Juan Orlando Hernandez, the ex-president of Honduras, has been found guilty of drug trafficking charges in a federal U.S. court. Hernandez was convicted on Friday of conspiring to import cocaine into the U.S. and possessing destructive devices, including machine guns. Prosecutors said the ex-president ran Honduras like a narco state, protecting and accepting bribes from drug traffickers. Hernandez now faces life in prison. The 55-year-old former president had denied any wrongdoing and pleaded not guilty in the case. He was convicted by a jury in Manhattan federal court after about 2 days of deliberations. A Pentagon report has concluded that a spike in UFO sightings in the 1950s and 60s was caused by tests of advanced U.S. spyplanes and space technology. U.S. officials also said there was no evidence that the U.S. government has encountered alien life. Most sightings of UFOs were ordinary objects from Earth, according to the report submitted to the Congress on Friday. But Pentagon officials accepted that their research won't quell popular beliefs about alien visitors. The report said the proliferation of TV programs, books, movies, and the vast amount of internet and social media content centered on UAP-related topics most likely has influenced the public conversation on the topic and reinforced these beliefs within some sections of the population. And that was the world news.
Development news.
In development news, a new breeding center has been opened in Habarana for the first time in Sri Lanka to breed tame elephants in order to increase the elephant population in the country. In another significant move, members of the Tame Elephant Association have also taken steps to build a private hospital where local and Western medical treatment is provided to elephants. In addition to the treatment of tame elephants, untrained elephant handlers will also be trained to become professional manhouts in this private hospital. Even though Pinnavale Elephant Orphanage conducts some elephant breeding activities, there has not been fully dedicated center purely for elephant breeding before in this country. And that came to you in the segment of development news.
Moving on with sports news.
The third and the final T20 international match between visiting Sri Lanka and Bangladesh will be played today. The match will commence at 3:15 a.m. Sri Lanka time at Sylhet Ground. Both countries have won one match each, and the winner of the match will decide the winner of the series. That is the sports news. Business news coming up.
Go ekak tiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business news, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
In business news, American politicians are being inundated with calls from TikTok users unhappy at plans to force its parent company to sell social media app. A bill that would mandate the sale within 6 months or see TikTok facing a ban was approved by a U.S. congressional panel on Thursday. Earlier, users of the app had received a notification urging them to act to stop a TikTok shutdown. That is the business news. Economic news follows.
Business news, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak tiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
And in economic news, Sri Lankan migrant workers who contribute greatly to the economic and financial strengthening of Sri Lanka have remitted an amount of $488 million to Sri Lanka in January this year. The central bank points out that in January 2023, the remittances of Sri Lankan migrant workers were $437 million, showing a growth of 11.4%. A recent report released by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka reveals that the remittances from Sri Lankan migrant workers are showing a broad-based upward trend despite the occasional fluctuations after recording a remarkable recovery in the year 2022. That is the economic news and the weather report to conclude.
Weather report.
Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in the western and Sabaragamu provinces and in the Gaul and Mathura districts in the evening or night. Mainly dry weather will prevail over the other parts of the island. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the western and Sabaragamu provinces and in the Gaul and Mathura districts during the morning hours as well. And before we conclude this bulletin, let's get back to the headlines once again. Sri Lanka's gross official reserves stood at 4.5 billion in January. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardana said that the railways lands will be leased to the private sector. The first public rally since President assuming office as the President will be held in Kurunegala tomorrow. Lanka South also reduces prices of 4 essential food commodities. In news overseas, 5 killed in Gaza aid drop parachute failure. And in sports news, the third and the final T20I match between visiting Sri Lanka and Bangladesh will be played today. And with that, we conclude this bulletin of news. And now it's back to your Saturday's morning regular host, Sinhala, on the other side of the glass panel to brighten up your day.